Hey guys, this is Paul Potter, the Grand Lake Guy, and today in this video I'm going to share 2 spring crappie fishing secrets that are going to help you catch more fish. It's coming up right now in this video. Hey guys, this is Paul Potter, the Grand Lake Guy. This channel is all about helping you increase your crappie fishing catch rate by sharing tricks and techniques that I use as a crappie fishing guide on Grand Lake in Oklahoma. Sponsored by ACC Crappie Sticks. Okay, springtime is here, guys. This is the best time of year to go crappie fishing. A lot of people know that. What's just happened is we just came out of a season where the water is very stagnant. The oxygen is depleted throughout the entire lake, lowering the overall oxygen level in the lake, but it's also making those fish lethargic and hard to catch. And now the water's starting to warm up, things are starting to grow in the shallows, and oxygen is being dispersed in this shallow area. And what's happening is these crappie are starting to stage, and they're getting ready to make a move into these shallow areas, and they're going to start to spawn. But right now we are in springtime, and I have 2 secrets that I'm going to tell you right now. These are gold. This is absolute gold. It's going to help you catch more crappie in the springtime, all the way throughout the spring, from the beginning of spring all the way to the end of spring. These are 2 tips that you can use to catch crappie, and you're going to love them. So at the lake I fish, we have a lot more white crappie than we do black crappie. Okay, that's just how it is. The population of white crappie is just huge, and we don't have a lot of black crappie. And a lot of people think that black crappie and white crappie are identical. They're exactly the same, and that's just not the case. So there are differences. They taste the same. When it comes to filleting a black crappie versus a white crappie, they are the same. White crappie tend to get bigger than black crappie. Black crappie are more of a smaller fish. They're better for ponds and whatnot. But there are some behavioral differences in black crappie and white crappie as well. And that brings us to this secret that I want to tell you about, okay? Black crappie will actually stay on the beds a lot longer, way longer, a lot longer than the white crappie. The white crappie will move back down into their post-spawn areas, getting ready to make their move into a summer pattern into these deeper brush piles right above the thermocline. But what happens is these black crappie will actually stay on the beds, and they will stay there, and they will be black. I mean, they will be using their tuxedo. And you catch them the same way that you do the white spawning crappie. All you do is just take a bobber, you put your minnow on there, and you pitch it up into the shallows, and they will bite just like a spawning crappie. So guys, if you think that's awesome, type slabs down into the comment section, and that way I know that I'm making sense for you guys. I'm telling you, every year I do this, and it amazes me because I don't see a whole lot of people doing this. And I'm not saying every bed holds black crappie after the spawn's done. That's not what I'm saying. I would say probably half of the spawning beds that you were catching spawning fish on, probably a week after the white crappie move out and go deeper, the black crappie will come in, and they will stand there, and they will stay there, and they will have their tuxedo colors on. They will be black. When you catch them, they will be very, very dark because they have been hanging out in those shallows for so long. Okay, so secret number 2 is bass fish for crappie. So what in the world do I mean by bass fish for crappie? Okay, so when you're in the springtime and you're looking for spawning beds, right? The water temperature is 60 degrees, 60, 65 degrees. The fish should be shallow. They should be hitting their spawn. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna bass fish for crappie in order to find an active spawning bed. Then, so what you're gonna do is put you a little curly tail jig on. What I prefer is a chartreuse, something like a Bobby Garland minnow minder where the tail is going to spin. Okay, all chartreuse. Take that, and I want you to bass fish with it. So you're just going to put that on a jig, and you're going to cast it up into the shallows, and kind of like you're doing bass fishing. What you're looking for is a crappie to strike it, just like a bass. Okay, and when you find that, what that means is you've just found an active crappie bed. Okay, now once you find that active crappie bed, what you want to do is then switch and start catching the rest of these crappie on that spawning bed with a minnow, a live minnow, and a bobber. Just like the previous video when I talked about having the bobber and then having your minnow, that's what you're going to want to use, okay? But the secret here is bass fishing to find the spawning beds. What you're going to be able to do is cover a lot more ground, okay? You're going to be able to go from cove to cove in these shallow areas, and you're going to be able to bass fish the very shallow areas of these coves until you get a bite And that's going to allow you to cover a lot of water and a lot of coves until you find a very active spawning bed. So one of the best ways you can find these black crappie that are hanging out after the white crappie have already spawned and moved back down is bass fishing for them as well. They will find it. So this is what I recommend doing. Find your spawning beds and catch all these spawning crappie, but then after the spawn seems to be over, what I want you to do is go back to these spawning beds, you know, a week later, even if the water temperature rises and it's not perfect spawning temperature anymore, I still want you to go back there and I want you to bass fish these spawning beds, and I want you to try to find these black crappie, because half of these spawning beds that you were catching spawning crappie on are now going to be holding black crappie. They're going to hang out for the next 3 weeks to a month. It's crazy. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. You'll be catching crappie and the water temperature will be 70+ degrees and they'll be in 2 foot of water. You'll catch them and it looks, they're going to be so black it looks like they've just been hunkered down in the mud, hanging out in the shallows for the last 3 months. I mean, it's insane. So that's it for today, guys. We got some guide trips coming up this weekend, so hope you guys are ready. Get out there and go enjoy some of these spring crappie. This is the best time to go catch spring crappie, and I'm giving you guys gold. This is exactly all you need to know to go catch crappie.